Y'all, listen. It is 6 o'clock at night, and I have got me some coffee because it's just been that kind of day. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning after closing last night and leaving work at 11 o'clock. And then immediately after my shift today, went straight to class, and I'm just crushing, and I had to write an essay, and just so much stuff that I've decided to push off a little bit later because I'd rather make a video. So recently, something very cool happened to me. And by very cool, I mean something on Tumblr, which makes me so not very cool whatsoever. But there is this website slash shop slash podcast called SouthWind Charm, and it's run by these super cool girls who are so hilariously funny. And one of them posted something on Tumblr about how she was moving and she was uncertain about something, and she was pulling out the cards, and she was getting stuck because she just read too much into them, or read too many spreads for the same situation, which we've all been there, girl. And so she had read too much, and she kind of offered or posted something asking for help from anyone, essentially. And I just sort of, I pulled one card and sent her my 2 cents, and she seemed really into the advice that I was able to give her, which, it was such small advice, but her appreciation of it was so great, and I just appreciate her appreciation. And she actually gave me a shout out on SouthWind Charm, both on the blog on a post, but also on the podcast. The podcast is super cool. You guys should totally check it out. I'll post a link to their website, and the bottom of the podcast is right on there. You guys can find it so easily. But it's all about witchy stuff, tarot. This past podcast, which I'm shouted out on, or the one before that, maybe it's either the last one or the one before that. It's my Tumblr name, so if you guys listen to it, just listen to First Aid Kona. But they talk about omens and reading signs and what makes something a sign, and it was really interesting to me, and it got me thinking about that too, and I wanted to make a video about that. What makes something a sign. It's something that we all talk a lot about. I think for all of us, if we can pinpoint something as being connected to a deity or connected to something significant, it makes us feel kind of cool and kind of badass and kind of important and connected, to nature and to God and all of that stuff. So because of how it makes us feel, I think sometimes we can be a little bit overzealous in our interpretation of things. For example, the other day, actually after I read this post, maybe omens and signs was on my mind, but the other day I got a Frappuccino from Starbucks coffee. And what's so bizarre about this, what's the most bizarre thing about the story that I'm about to tell you is that, did you know that Starbucks sells coffee that doesn't have caffeine in it? Okay, I've heard of decaf, but there's actual things on the menu that's not specified as decaf that just doesn't have caffeine in it. So I ordered this thing, and she was like, there's no caffeine in this. And I was like, that you work for Starbucks, right? But anyway, she put caffeine into it for me, and everything ended up wonderfully, as you can tell. I'm still addicted. But anyway, I had a really, really pretty mug that I got from Walmart, and I think one of my roommates broke it. It makes me so sad. This is not as pretty. But anyway, what was I talking about? So I got my Frappuccino, my vanilla bean Frappuccino from Starbucks, and I went out onto this little plaza terrace thing that my school has. It's all open doors and everything. And I sat down, and I was just drinking my frap, and this squirrel is all up in my business. At first I thought it was really kind of cool because I was sitting down, and it would literally get into the seat next to me and just look at me. And at first I thought it was really cool, and then I got kind of worried because I didn't want to end up on the school newspaper as, in the headline of Flagler student killed by rabbit squirrel. That would suck, and be totally embarrassing. But after I got over my fascination and my fear, I immediately started to Google, scroll symbolism, which is just so stupid. And it's not stupid because, scrolls can't be symbolic of anything. Based on my simple Google search, they apparently can be symbolic of both playfulness and hard work or resourcefulness. And it's not stupid because scrolls can't be symbolic. It's not like they're so commonplace as to not be significant somehow, or as if they couldn't be significant somehow. But I immediately started Googling it after one instance, and an instance that was probably directly related to that scroll wanting a piece of my Frappuccino. It was eyeing it hardcore. So that's just an example, and I like to use these examples with me just because, this is not in any way me saying that, I know what a real symbol is and you guys don't. I think we can all kind of fall into this place of applying significance when, if we're honest with each other, there's probably no significance there. As a counterexample to that, something that I would say actually is significant is this. A couple of years ago, I was living with my dad because I was planning to go to school up in Virginia where he lives. I was going to go to Mary Washington, if you guys have ever heard of that school. And it's a beautiful, beautiful school, but it was a really kind of uneasy, turbulent, uncertain time for me because I was trying to go to the school and it wasn't really working out. I wasn't certain about financial aid and I felt like a huge failure and blah, 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 blah. You can read my Tumblr about it. But anyway, I was in a really bad head place at that point. And at one point during that long year, I had a dream, actually the same dream 3 different times with like different variations in it. But the dream was about a witch doctor, or someone I perceived as being a witch doctor. She was in a very Mediterranean looking place. There was lots of whites and blues around. She had dark, kind of smarmy skin, long dark hair. And if you guys have ever seen the beginning of Xena, the title, with the music and the Xena war cry and everything, and there's that scene where Xena kind of like turns her head and the wind blows in her face and there's the ocean behind her, and she beams this smile that is just like makes your heart want to like pop out of your chest and kill itself because it's just so beautiful and heartwarming. And that's the kind of smile that this witch doctor, psychic, oracle woman gave me. And it was just a really beautiful dream. There was something so comforting about her face. And like every time, we had this bit where like every time I would show up, she would give me this exasperated look and she would just say, again, like really, you're coming to me again? I just helped you. But she was like totally kidding. And I would sit down with her and she would talk about my problems and talk about my future. I don't really remember the specifics of everything, but after she was done speaking to me on each of these 3 occasions, I would just wake up and I would feel so at peace. And of course I wrote about her and I never dreamed about her again, which just makes me so sad. But I think there is significance here in these dreams, or visions, if you want to call them visions, or I don't know what you want to call them. But here's how you can kind of, or how I kind of, or how I can convince myself that that's symbolic or meaningful or significant. And part of the reason why is that there's 3. It occurred 3 different times, and 3 is a very magical, very significant number in a lot of different religions. In the Bible, things usually occur in 3s, and I think 7s too. But in lots of different cultures and lots of different myths, this number typically occurs, in triads and things like that. But also the way that it feels. I think most people as individuals, we can tell, when we're being disingenuous, when we're not being true to ourselves. We can tell when we're trying to convince ourselves. It's like before I liked sushi, I would try to convince myself that I like sushi just because I like the concept of liking sushi, but I knew I didn't really like sushi until I actually liked sushi. If you guys have ever done that with any type of food or anything, probably with quinoa. You guys probably know what I'm talking about, quinoa. Let's be real, that food is really, really gross. But because it's healthy and all these other things for you, we convince ourselves that we actually like it. And I think that we do that with, you know, commonplace things in our lives. We convince ourselves that it's more important because it makes us feel important, because it makes us feel like we're being propelled in some way, I think. I think it probably occurs a lot or during times when, you know, maybe we feel a little bit stuck with school or with work, and if we feel like there are signs or omens around us, then we can perceive that as having a direction, or being directed when we previously weren't being directed, or whatever. You know, it makes us feel better, as if things are moving, as if there's a plan or something. But when you actually have a real omen or a real sign, there's something inside of you that just, it either chills you or it warms you up, or something happens in your chest, like right here, and it just feels different. It feels genuine, and I definitely felt that after this triplicate of dreams that I had, and for the longest time I thought maybe it was some sort of goddess that was like reaching out to me, and I tried to like search up different goddesses that were related to oracles or to divination, you know, things like that. Couldn't really find anything, so I'm not totally certain what it is. You know, I've been researching spirit guides a little bit and seeing if maybe it might be that, but I don't totally know how I feel about that, and maybe I'll make a separate video about that in the future, but I don't know. But the point of this video is just, there is a difference, I think, between a real sign and a not so real sign, and I think deep down we all kind of know what it is. And I think it's important to know the difference and to be honest with yourself, because I think there's an element of the boy who cried wolf, you know, in our ability to find signs everywhere. You know, because if you're finding signs everywhere, then I think you're going to miss out on the real important ones, or they're going to blend into all of the fake signs. And you want to be genuine, because you want to be genuine with your goddess or with your god or with the source or whoever you follow or whatever you believe in. You want to be genuine with them, so that way their lessons can reach you. So yeah, that was just my thoughts about things, and yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to me. I really, really do have to go work on that essay now. Don't want to, but I have to because it's due on Tuesday, and oh my gosh, if only I could just pass out in my coffee cup right now and go to bed. But I can't do that, so yeah, I gotta go. Bye, you guys. Thank you for listening.